So how many people got into B2B marketing because they were so excited to do boring work? Raise your hand. None of us. We don't think about that. Nobody goes into B2B marketing because they want to do boring work. But here's what happens. We get out of college and we get that first job with that boron mining company, and we get excited about what it is that we want to do, and we go to our boss and we say, I have a phenomenal idea for a YouTube series, and it will completely change how the mining industry looks at boron. And our boss says, no. Because people who buy boron, they don't actually watch YouTube, but they do read a lot of sales sheets. So I need you to go make a lot of sales sheets, okay? Or, maybe it is that we start to work for a medical device company and we sell heart catheters, and we tell our boss, I've got this phenomenal idea for an Instagram campaign that will completely change how people in the medical industry look at taking care of your heart. And our boss says, no, you know what, cardiologists, they don't really use Instagram so much, not on their phone like everybody else is, but what they do read are a lot of white papers. So I need you to go back and write some white papers and just kind of forget about Instagram. Or maybe we start to work for that software company that builds a platform for forensic accountants, and we have this idea for a blog that will completely change how accountants look at white-collar crime. And we can't wait to tell our boss about it because it's fun and it's exciting and it's new and it's different. And our boss says, accountants, they don't actually read blogs. But what accountants do read is Accounting Monthly magazine. So I need you to write some ads to go in Accounting Monthly magazine that talks about the features and functions of our software platform. I see some heads nodding. Yeah. Because really, when it comes to pitching great ideas, everything that we pitch goes back to the same boring thing that we've always done as B2B marketers. Now, if you think when you were 22 and starting out in your career and had that first job at the boron mining company, you had ideas all the time. You had a million of them. And you were pitching them all day long to your boss, right? And you knew that getting an okay for a great idea was really a numbers game. The more ideas you pitched, the greater your chances of getting a hit, just like in baseball. And so you had a high tolerance for risk and a high tolerance for rejection. You knew that you could change the world, and you were on it every single day. And then maybe a couple of years into it, you see that frequency come down just a little bit. You're 24, you're 25. You realize that you need to be a little bit discerning about what it is that you're pitching. Maybe the people who buy boron don't actually want their name on a bag of boron like people who buy cans of Coke do. Maybe there's some things you need to adjust there. But you're excited. You still know that you can change the world. Then you get to be 32. 10 years into your career, you're a little bit jaded. You've seen a lot of things go across your desk. You've tried a lot of different opportunities. By the time you're 32, you're going to test the waters before you pitch a new idea. Maybe instead of saying, hey, let's do this really interesting, fabulous, different thing as a YouTube series, instead you send out a link to something that's similar that you think is really creative, and you test the waters. And when the reaction comes back as that's crazy, that's insane, that's ridiculous, it would never work in our industry, you say, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Can you believe they did that? And you cross that off your list, and you send out feelers for the next thing. By the time you're 32, you're only putting out something that's an original idea about every 6 months. You really brought that pace down. Then you get to 42. By the time you're 42, you have a mortgage, you have kids to put through college, you've got 20 years invested in a really pretty good, stable career. By the time you're 42, you're really only swinging at the things that you know are going to be an absolute yes. And even those things that you pitch as an idea, they really aren't all that different from what you've done in the past. By the time you're 42, you're pitching an idea about once every other year. And it's not anything that's particularly new, different, creative. Because by the time you're 42, you're frustrated from hearing no for every great idea you put forward. And by the time you're 42, you really are a little bit embarrassed about what you thought you would be doing to change the world compared to when you were 22 and looking ahead at your career. The thing is that our bosses have us convinced that B2B marketing is boring. But that's not the truth. It's not that B2B marketing is boring. It's just that we've been beaten into believing that it's boring. So here's something that's happened. It's not that B2B marketers can't be successful. Because I've worked in this industry for 20 years, and I've seen a lot of really interesting and new and unique things that come along. But the problem is how we pitch our ideas. So this is what we do when we have an idea that we want to pitch. We walk into our boss or we get a meeting with our client and we say, you know what, Lego has been phenomenally successful with this magazine that they put out and they publish every other month, so that's what we need to do. We need to put out a magazine. Or we say, you know, Marriott, they built this entire team that's a content studio, so that's what we should do is build a content studio and then we can put out Hollywood quality films. Or we say, we take a B2B example. You know, here's IBM. They created a machine. They went on primetime TV. They went on a game show. They played it against the smartest people in the world. That's what we should do. We should start going on primetime TV as a B2B company. But what happens is that people don't pay attention to the ideas that we pitch because we're using just a simple 3-step process. We observe something that another brand has done. That's the idea we generate, and then we pitch it. But it doesn't make any sense. And it's not that the ideas are bad, it's just that we don't know how to pitch. And no one has ever accused B2B marketers of not having enough ideas. It's just that we've never learned how it is that we have to pitch an idea that makes that idea successful. And bad pitches kill great ideas. And every great idea has to have support before it can go anywhere. And the last reason is that we have all been taught the 4 Ps of marketing. We know product, price, place, promotion, but we've never been taught that secret 5th P of pitching that is really what makes us successful in what it is that we do. So here's what I know, is that it doesn't matter if you're 32 or 42 or 52 or 92. Everybody in this room has just as many great ideas as you did when you were 22. It's just that you need to learn how to pitch them. So that's what I'm going to teach you in the next 30 minutes is how to pitch really great ideas, even the ones that are completely wacky and weird and off the charts in every direction. Because before we can do brilliant marketing, we have to learn to get people to support the ideas that we have. So let me tell you a story about somebody who's really phenomenal at pitching ideas. This man's name is Josh Reeves. And Josh is the CEO of a company called Zen Payroll. It's a software platform for HR professionals to use to process payroll for their companies. And Josh had an amazing idea that he wanted to go in and pitch to his employees and his stakeholders one day. And he could have gone in and said, this is what we're going to do. Okay, change what you've been doing and let's go at it. Which is really how a lot of executives pitch ideas in their companies. But instead, Josh understood the art of pitching ideas. So this is what Josh did when he came into work one Monday morning. He said, you know, I was sitting on my couch last weekend watching TV and the movie Office Space came on. And Office Space is a movie about horrible bosses and 3 guys who absolutely despise the man they work for. And I started to think about that. I started to look at what was going on in that movie. And I realized that it's not just that companies intend to treat employees bad. It's just that sometimes the systems that you have in place, that's the result that comes out of it. And I thought about the people who we have within our company and the passion that we have for our customers and how they treat their employees. And I realized that that was night and day compared to what I saw in that movie. And I understand that it's not just a passion that we have for what it is that we do. We have a gusto for it. And I don't want to talk about just payroll and making that easy. I want to talk about the gusto that we have for HR professionals and making their entire profession easy. And I want to expand what we do from beyond just payroll to talk about benefits and other things that HR professionals have to do. And I don't want to just focus on the products that we sell. I want to talk about creating a world where work empowers a better life. And I want to talk about making business tasks simple and easy. And I want to talk about reimagining HR for an entire modern kind of business. And I don't want to focus on what it is that we sell from a software specs point of view. This is how I want to talk about what we do from a marketing perspective.
Hey, Zoe, I have a question about my bonus.
Oh, you'll have to talk to Zoe and payroll about that. Oh, there you go, Lisa.
And I also wanted to know about adding my spouse to my benefits.
Well, that's a Zoe and benefits question.
Okay.
Sign these.
Thanks. And do you know anything about office plants? Mine isn't looking so good.
Let me see if I can grab Zoe in horticulture. Here you go.
Oh, and I also wanted to know...
Can you hold on that? Zoe in recruiting has a conference call. Thanks.
For HR people who do everything, we give you one place to go. Do it with gusto.
It was great. It hit all the things that HR people wanted to know. Everything that they had to solve is a problem. But did it say anything about the Gusto software? No, you saw the logo at the end. Because Josh understood that for him to do brilliant marketing, that he wanted to build tools that turned workplaces into communities and took into account the human experience that goes on within companies. He wanted the software to be about bigger things, like how you give people a really phenomenal first day on the job, and how you build communities within workplaces. Now, Josh was able to pitch idea after idea after idea and successfully pitch these ideas because he understood three really important things. The first thing that he understood is that he needed to create a journey with every pitch that he gave. Successful pitches bring people along on a journey, and they start with the inspiration behind the idea, clear through to the execution of the idea. The second reason that Josh is successful with pitching ideas is that he starts with the inspiration. He started with that Saturday afternoon when he was sitting on a couch watching a really horrible movie, and he painted a picture. Because when you start with the inspiration, you start to connect the dots between what it is your idea is all about and what it is that your brand does. And the third reason that Josh is successful at pitching wacky ideas is because he understands how to trigger anticipation with every single pitch. He can show people what's possible with a pitch, and he gets them excited about the future and what's next. That's how Josh was able to sit on his couch on a Saturday afternoon, watch a movie about a horrible boss, and completely rebrand and redesign his company into one that's a multi-billion-dollar company now. It's consistently a best place to work, and they have 99% customer satisfaction rate. Now, this isn't easy to do, and sometimes it's hard to spot. But I want to tell you where I learned this. So I've worked with B2B companies for about 20 years, teaching them how to become storytellers. And one day I was sitting in my office, and the phone rang. And this man called me, Mohammed Hayil Saeed. And Mohammed told me a story about the company that he had started. And Mohammed was a student at the University of Montreal, and he was studying marketing. And he told me that every day when he went to class, he saw this range of what was going on with students. There was this group over here that it didn't matter who the teacher was, what the subject was, or how much homework was, they were always really successful. And then there was this group over here, it didn't matter who the teacher was, what the subject was, what the curriculum was, they always struggled. And then in between was this group that you never really could predict what was going on. And he was talking to his professor one day, and they said, well, maybe it's not the education system that's to blame, maybe it's the learning process. And so they came up with this idea to start a company that looked at improving education by improving the process of learning, and they called it Mentorina. And he said, it's not that we want to sell software, it's that we want to show people how they can have a more amazing life if they just have a better educational experience. And when I asked Mohammed, who was it that inspired him? What was the brands that he looked to that he wanted to recreate with his own company? And he said, when I think about the brands that do the most amazing things with building communities and getting people engaged and excited with what they do, it's Disney. Because you look at all of the new ideas and the brilliant things that Disney puts out consistently year after year after year, and what fanatics their fans are. He said, that's what I want to create. So we put together a content strategy to build a community that he felt would replicate what would happen if Disney built a community for the educational industry. And he went into his executive team and he pitched this idea. And they said, we're not doing this. This is crazy. We're not Disney. We don't have theme parks. We don't have goofy animals. We don't have princesses. We're a serious company that sells a serious product to some of the most smart and educated people in the world. What I need you to do is go back and write white papers, and I need you to write sales sheets, and I need you to put ads in educational magazines that talk about the features and functions of our software. And so instead of coming to work every single day and asking himself, what would Disney do if they were building a community? Mohammed went back to the same things that he had always done as a B2B marketer. And I learned three really important things from this experience. The first is that fear is the biggest hurdle that we always have to overcome. And that if we're going to be able to move big ideas forward, we have to have a process that makes ideas feel safe and familiar. The second thing that I learned is that we have to be able to translate the concepts that we're pitching. People need context for the ideas that they hear so they can emotionally understand what they mean. And the third thing that I learned is that we have to put process over product. We have to look at the process that we're using to pitch new ideas more often than we look at what is the actual product that we want to create. That's what I learned about how the most innovative brands are continually successful with putting out brilliant marketing.